The massive alien ship appeared without warning. One moment, Earth's orbital sensors showed nothing unusual. The next, a vessel larger than anything humans had ever built materialized just beyond the moon. World leaders scrambled to respond. Military forces went on high alert. Citizens around the globe gathered around screens, watching in fear and wonder. "This is unprecedented," said General Frank Lewis as he studied the vessel's image. The ship resembled a giant silver leaf, shimmering against the blackness of space. Commander Ethan Miller stood beside the general in Houston's Space Command Center. At 35, Ethan had already served 15 years in the Navy, the last 5 commanding spacecraft. His short brown hair and serious eyes gave him an air of calm authority. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies," reported a young communications officer. The message came in perfect English. "People of Earth, we come in peace as representatives of the Galactic Council. We request a meeting with your leaders." Within 48 hours, the United Nations had selected a delegation. Commander Ethan Miller would lead the military contingent due to his experience in space. Susan Wright, a respected diplomat with 20 years of experience, would handle negotiations. 5 scientists, 3 political leaders, and 2 cultural experts completed the team. The meeting location was set for the International Space Station. The alien representatives promised to arrive in a smaller shuttle, as not to intimidate. "Remember, we know nothing about them," Susan told Ethan as they prepared. She was 50 years old with graying red hair and piercing green eyes. "Our job is to listen more than speak." Ethan nodded. "But we must show strength too. First impressions matter." The alien shuttle docked smoothly with the station. The human delegation waited, hearts pounding. When the airlock opened, 3 beings stepped through. The aliens looked somewhat like tall, thin humans with pale blue skin. They had large eyes that changed color slightly as they moved. Their fingers were longer, with an extra joint. They wore simple white clothing that seemed to glow faintly. "I am Ambassador Zixtal of the Atrian species," said the tallest alien in flawless English. "These are my associates, Science Advisor Nev and Security Chief Curl." Ethan noticed they breathed the station's air without issue. They moved gracefully in the microgravity, suggesting they were used to space travel. Over the next 6 hours, Ambassador Zixtal explained the Galactic Council's purpose. 27 advanced species had formed it centuries ago to maintain peace and guide developing civilizations. "Your species has achieved much in a short time," Zixtal said. "But your rapid advancement concerns us. Many young species destroy themselves or others when they gain powerful technology too quickly." Susan listened carefully. "What exactly are you proposing?" "Earth may join the Council," Zixtal said, "but with certain conditions. You must limit your military ships to defense only. Your colonies cannot expand beyond Mars without approval. And certain technologies will be shared with you gradually, as you prove your responsibility." Ethan frowned. "Those sound like serious restrictions on our independence." Zixtal's eyes flickered to a deeper blue. "They are protections, for you and others. In exchange, you gain access to Council medical knowledge, cleaner energy sources, and trade with 27 worlds." The humans asked for time to consider. In private, the delegation debated fiercely. "They're treating us like children," Ethan argued. "But the technologies they're offering could solve our biggest problems," countered one of the scientists. Susan stayed quiet for a long time before speaking. "Something feels wrong. Why arrive now? Why these specific limitations? But can we afford to refuse?" Over the next week, Earth's governments voted. The promise of advanced technologies, particularly medical and environmental, proved too tempting. By a narrow margin, they decided to accept the Council's offer. At the formal ceremony, Susan signed the agreement while Ethan watched with growing unease. As Ambassador Zixtal welcomed Earth to the Galactic Council, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that humanity had just made a terrible mistake. He didn't know yet how right he was. 6 months after Earth joined the Galactic Council, Commander Ethan Miller sat at his desk reviewing trade reports. The numbers didn't add up. Earth was sending out 10 times more resources than it received in return. "Computer, show me the iron ore exports for the last quarter," he said. The screen displayed a graph with a steep upward line. Ethan rubbed his tired eyes. Since the agreement, Council ships had established mining operations on the Moon, Mars, and throughout the asteroid belt. They claimed the materials would help build technology for Earth's benefit. Yet so far, Earth had received only basic medical upgrades and some minor energy improvements. When Ethan raised his concerns at the weekly briefing, Admiral Peterson cut him off. "These arrangements were approved at the highest level, Commander. The Council assures us the return on investment will come soon." The next day, Ethan received new orders. He was being transferred to Europa, Jupiter's icy moon, to oversee a monitoring station. Everyone knew it was a punishment post. Susan Wright faced similar frustrations. As Earth's official representative to the Council, she attended meetings in the Grand Council chamber aboard the massive station they had built in Earth orbit. The chamber seated representatives from all 28 species, but Susan quickly noticed a pattern. The 7 founding species, including the Atrians, always sat at the center. They spoke first, and their votes carried more weight. "We're considering your request for the cancer treatment technology," Ambassador Zixtel told Susan after one meeting. "But first, we need to increase resource collection quotas in your system." "Again?" Susan asked. "Earth has already exceeded the original agreement." Zixtel's eyes flashed a dark blue. "The needs of the Council are greater than anticipated. We must all make sacrifices." On Europa, Ethan found the monitoring station was little more than a glorified relay for Council communications. Most of his job involved routine maintenance. The station housed only 6 humans and 2 Council observers. The isolation had one benefit. Away from Earth's watchful Council representatives, Ethan could investigate freely. He began analyzing patterns in ship movements and resource transfers throughout the solar system. One evening, while working late, he met Dr. Lisa Clark. She was using the station's powerful computers to analyze Council biological data. "Find anything interesting?" Ethan asked. Lisa jumped slightly. She was about 40, with dark skin and hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent. "Nothing I'm supposed to be looking at," she admitted. "But I got curious about Atrian biology. Look at this." The screen showed genetic comparisons between humans and several Council species. According to the data, humans had unusually high genetic adaptability. "We change faster than most species," Lisa explained. "We evolve and adapt more quickly, and look at our brain scans compared to theirs." The neural pathway diagrams showed human brains formed new connections faster than any Council species. "They're afraid of us," Ethan realized. "Not because of what we are now, but what we could become." Over the next weeks, Ethan and Lisa shared their findings. They discovered the monitoring station had access to Council data streams they weren't supposed to see. By carefully routing queries through maintenance systems, they pieced together a disturbing picture. Earth wasn't the first world to be treated this way. The Council had a pattern of identifying potentially threatening young species, offering them membership, then systematically exploiting their resources while restricting their development. Meanwhile, Susan made a friend on the Council station. Krell was a representative of the Viridian species who had joined the Council 60 years earlier. The Viridians resembled tall, slender humans with iridescent skin that changed color with their emotions. "Your world reminds me of ours when we first joined," Krell told Susan privately. His skin showed a sad violet tone. "So full of hope." "And now?" Susan asked. Krell looked around to ensure they weren't overheard. "Now we understand the true nature of the Council." But by then, it was too late to resist. His skin darkened. Or so we thought. Ethan and Lisa returned to Earth with their findings. They carried data chips hidden in modified communication devices. Council security scanned them at the spaceport, but found nothing unusual. Back on Earth, they took their evidence to Admiral Peterson. "These trade agreements are destroying our economy," Ethan explained, showing charts on his tablet. "We're being stripped of resources while the Council gives us outdated technology in return." Admiral Peterson frowned. "The Council has been nothing but helpful. They've given us medical advances that have saved thousands of lives." "Small advances," Lisa argued. "Our research shows they're holding back at least 90% of their medical knowledge. Just enough to keep us happy." "This sounds like conspiracy talk," the Admiral said. "I'm disappointed in both of you." Similar meetings with other officials ended the same way. Some were true believers in the Council. Others seemed afraid to question them. A few had been given special privileges by the Council and didn't want to lose them. "We need to go public," Ethan said as they left another failed meeting. "We'd be arrested for breaking the Information Security Act," Lisa reminded him. The Council had helped pass new laws that classified many topics as security risks. That night, in Lisa's apartment, they met with a small group of trusted friends and colleagues. Among them was Dr. Paul Martinez, a computer expert who had worked on Council systems. "If what you found is true, we need to organize," Paul said. "But carefully." They formed a group called Terran Sovereignty. At first, they focused on gathering and sharing information. They used old radio technology and paper messages to avoid Council surveillance. Members identified each other with simple code phrases about the weather. Their numbers grew slowly but steadily. Scientists noticed the strangely limited technology the Council provided. Workers saw their raw materials shipped away while factories closed. Military personnel recognized how Earth's defenses were being systematically weakened. 3 months later, they received an encrypted message from Susan Wright. She wanted to meet. The meeting took place in a small cabin in the Rocky Mountains. Susan arrived alone, having told the Council she was visiting family. "I suspected for some time," she said after hearing their evidence. "But I needed proof before I could act." Susan explained that as Earth's representative, she had greater access to Council records. She had been carefully collecting information. "The junior Council species are treated like us," she said. "The 7 founding members control everything. But some, like the Viridians, are growing restless." Susan agreed to work with Terran Sovereignty, feeding them information from inside the Council. With her help, they gained access codes to certain Council databases. Their breakthrough came when Paul discovered hidden archives. He worked 3 days straight, breaking through security layers. What they found shocked them all. Earth had been specifically targeted by the Council. Long-range scans had identified humans as unusually adaptable and inventive, a potential future threat to Council dominance. The membership offer was designed to control humanity's development before they became too powerful. Even worse, they found records of other species who had resisted Council control. 3 had their home worlds quarantined, cut off from all contact. Another, the Nexari, had apparently been made an example of. Their entry simply stated, "Species terminated due to non-compliance. Planet resources now available for harvest." They would destroy an entire species. Lisa whispered, horrified. "To maintain control." "Yes," Susan said grimly. "The founding members have ruled for thousands of years. They don't intend to give up power." Word spread through their network. More people joined every day as living conditions on Earth worsened. Council protective forces now controlled key Earth facilities. Resource quotas had doubled again. Unemployment was rising as human industries couldn't compete with Council technology. "We're growing too fast," Ethan warned during a leadership meeting. "We need to be careful about new members." "We don't have time to be careful," Paul argued. "The Council is tightening its grip every day." What none of them knew was that the Council was already watching them. The mining ship MSV Perseus left Earth orbit on a routine mission to the rings of Saturn. Captain Alan Foster commanded a crew of 47. They planned to collect ice and minerals from the outer rings, resources still permitted for human collection. "Council ships ahead," warned Jane Miller, the ship's sensor operator. 3 of them, blocking our path. Captain Foster frowned. Their flight plan had been approved weeks ago. Open a channel, he ordered. Human vessel, you are entering a restricted area, came the response from the largest council ship. Return to Earth immediately. Foster checked his navigation display. We're nowhere near restricted space. Our path is exactly as approved by Earth Control. There was a pause. Then the council ship responded. New restrictions were implemented yesterday. Failure to comply will be treated as hostile action. Foster had a decision to make. Turning back meant weeks of wasted fuel and time. His company would likely go bankrupt. Many of his crew would lose their homes. We'll adjust our course, he said finally. We request permission to mine in Sector 47B instead. Another long pause. Then, permission denied. Return to Earth. Foster was about to comply when his communications officer called out, Captain, they're powering weapons. That's impossible, Foster said. We've done nothing wrong. The first blast hit the Perseus before Foster could give any orders. The ship rocked violently. Warning alarms blared throughout the vessel. Heavy damage to engines, shouted the engineering officer. We're venting atmosphere. Send distress calls on all frequencies. Foster ordered. Tell them we surrender. The council ships fired again and again. The Perseus broke apart in a series of explosions. All 47 crew members were lost. The council called it a regrettable accident. They claimed the Perseus had entered a top-secret research area, despite warnings. Their sensors had detected what appeared to be weapons charging on the human vessel. They had fired in self-defense. Earth governments accepted this explanation publicly. What choice did they have against the Council's power? But someone on a nearby research station had recorded the entire incident. The footage showed the Council ships deliberately targeting the unarmed mining vessel. It showed the Perseus transmitting surrender signals repeatedly before being destroyed. The Terran Sovereignty Movement leaked the video to the public. It spread across Earth within hours despite Council efforts to block it. Global outrage erupted. Protests formed outside Council facilities. Some turned violent. Council representatives were recalled to their orbital station for safety. Susan Wright watched the crisis unfold from the Council station. When called to an emergency meeting, she listened as Ambassador Zixtal explained the unfortunate misunderstanding. For the first time since joining the Council, Susan spoke out directly. This was no accident, she said, her voice firm. I've seen the unedited footage. The Perseus was deliberately destroyed. The chamber fell silent. Then Zixtal spoke, his tone cold. Your emotional response is understandable but inappropriate, Representative Wright. Perhaps you should take some time to compose yourself. Susan stood up. I won't be silent while my people are murdered. She looked around at the representatives of other species. Some avoided her eyes. Others showed signs of discomfort or agreement. I formally resign my position as Earth's representative, Susan announced. I can no longer participate in this charade of cooperation. She walked out despite calls to return. Security tried to stop her at the shuttle bay, but Krell, the Viridian representative, intervened. Let her go, he told the guards, or explain to the Council why you detained a diplomatic representative. Back on Earth, Susan went directly to the Terran Sovereignty headquarters, now hidden in an abandoned mining complex beneath the Appalachian Mountains. Ethan and the others welcomed her with grim faces. The movement had grown to over 1 million supporters, but still operated in secret. The Perseus massacre changes everything, Ethan said. Earth governments are calling for calm and negotiation, but people want action. Then it's time, Susan said. We need to prepare for what's coming. The Council won't stop with one ship. This is just the beginning. The old iron mines on the far side of the moon had been abandoned years ago. Council inspectors had declared them empty of valuable resources. This made them perfect for what Ethan Miller and the Terran Sovereignty needed. Deep inside the largest mine, hundreds of people worked in secret. They built ships unlike anything Earth had constructed before. These vessels were smaller than Council warships, but designed with one purpose: to fight back. Dr. Richard Gaines led the engineering team. At 52, he had been one of Earth's top physicists before the Council arrived. Now he worked with stolen Council technology, taking it apart and putting it back together in new ways. The Council thinks we can't understand their science, he told Ethan during an inspection. But they're wrong. We're not just copying their designs, we're improving them. Ethan watched as workers installed engines in a sleek, black ship. How many can we build? With current resources, maybe 30 combat-ready vessels in 6 months, Richard said. Not enough to face their fleet head-on, but enough to surprise them. Similar operations existed in hollowed-out asteroids and hidden bases across the solar system. Each location built different components to avoid detection. Final assembly happened in the lunar mines, shielded from Council sensors. The ships had no official names, only numbers, but the workers called the first one Hope. Meanwhile, Susan Wright traveled between Earth and friendly alien worlds. Her diplomatic skills proved valuable in a different way now. She built a network of contacts among other species who resented Council control. The Viridians, represented by Krell, became their strongest allies. Though officially loyal to the Council, many Viridians secretly supported Earth's resistance. They provided crucial intelligence about Council movements and technology. Your situation mirrors our own history, Krell told Susan during a covert meeting on Mars. We were once where you are now, but we lacked your courage to resist. It's not courage, Susan replied. It's necessity. We've seen what happens to species who submit completely. On Earth, conditions worsened. The Council had increased their military presence after the Perseus incident. New security measures restricted human movement between planets. Resource quotas doubled, causing food shortages in some regions. Earth governments, still fearful of Council power, urged compliance. They blamed radical elements for increasing tensions. Some human officials actively helped the Council identify resistance members. They're afraid, Lisa Clark said during a leadership meeting. Can we blame them? The Council could destroy our planet if they wanted to. They won't, Ethan countered. Earth is too valuable as a resource, but they might make examples of cities or regions that resist. The resistance grew despite the dangers. People joined for different reasons, some for freedom, others for survival, many for revenge after losing loved ones to Council actions. Training crews for the new ships presented challenges. They couldn't practice in open space without being detected. Ethan developed simulation systems using modified Council technology. Pilots and gunners trained for months in virtual battles before ever setting foot on a real ship. Dr. Richard Gaines made the crucial breakthrough in the 11th month of preparations. While studying Council shield technology, he discovered a weakness. Their shields operate on a predictable frequency pattern. He explained to the Resistance leadership, if we time our weapons fire precisely, we can penetrate their defenses with much smaller energy expenditure. This discovery meant their smaller ships might actually stand a chance against Council vessels. The timeline for action accelerated. Then came alarming news from Krell. The Council is preparing to install planetary defense disruptors around Earth. Once activated, they will neutralize all weapon systems on the planet. When? Ethan asked. Installation begins in 30 days, Krell replied. Once complete, Earth will be entirely defenseless. The Resistance leaders gathered that night. The fleet wasn't fully ready. Only 22 ships had completed testing. Crews were trained but inexperienced. Yet waiting meant losing their last chance to fight. We have no choice, Ethan said finally. We move in 3 weeks. Tell all cells to prepare for Operation First Strike. Susan looked around at the grim faces. Remember, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting for every species the Council has ever oppressed. What happens here will echo throughout the galaxy. The first Council ships carrying the planetary defense disruptors entered Earth orbit on a Tuesday morning. There were 6 of them, large vessels with heavy armor and powerful weapons. They began deploying satellites at strategic points around the planet. Earth governments had been told these were communication enhancers to improve relations. In the command center beneath the lunar mines, Ethan Miller watched the deployment on multiple screens. Around him, crew members waited tensely for his orders. "Are all ships in position?" Ethan asked. Paul Martinez nodded. "All 22 vessels are at their launch points, engines hot. Strike teams on Mars, Europa, and Titan are ready." Ethan took a deep breath. This moment would change everything. Once they attacked, there would be no going back. "Send the signal," he ordered. "Operation First Strike begins now." Throughout the solar system, hidden bay doors opened. Human ships emerged from mines, asteroids, and secret bases. They were smaller than Council vessels, but faster and more maneuverable. Each carried weapons modified with Dr. Gaines' technology to penetrate Council shields. The Council had no warning. The first they knew of the attack was when 3 of their ships in Earth orbit suddenly exploded. The human vessels struck with precision, targeting the disruptor satellites first, then the Council ships themselves. In space around Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, similar battles erupted. Small, fast human ships appeared seemingly from nowhere, striking Council bases and outposts. They used hit-and-run tactics, never staying in one place long enough for the Council to organize a response. Aboard the Council station, Ambassador Zixtal watched in shock as reports flooded in. Screens showed Council facilities under attack throughout the solar system. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Humans don't have this technology." No one had an answer. The Council's careful plans had never accounted for this scenario. They had expected protests, perhaps isolated violence, but not a coordinated military strike. "We must call for reinforcements from Council space," Zixtal ordered. Within hours, the battle for the solar system was over. The Council had lost 38 ships and 12 bases. The human forces had destroyed every planetary defense disruptor. Council survivors retreated to their main station orbiting Earth. On Earth itself, people watched the space battle through telescopes and on video feeds. Some were horrified, others jubilant. Earth governments issued confused statements, some condemning the attacks, others remaining silent. Ethan addressed the solar system through all communication channels. "People of Earth and the colonies, this was not an act of aggression but of self-defense. We have proof the Council planned to neutralize Earth's defenses as the first step toward complete control. We fight not just for independence but for survival." The Council demanded an emergency meeting. They sent a message requesting Earth send a representative. To their surprise, Susan Wright arrived as Earth's ambassador. The Council chamber was tense. Nearly half the seats were empty, as many junior species had not responded to the emergency summons. Ambassador Zixtal spoke first. "This unprovoked attack is a clear violation of all agreements. Earth must surrender immediately and hand over the criminals responsible." Susan stood calmly. "Before I respond to your demands, I wish to present evidence." She displayed videos of the Perseus massacre, documents showing the Council's exploitation of Earth resources, and plans for the defense disruptors. "The Council has systematically lied to Earth," Susan said. "You've exploited our resources, restricted our development, and killed our people when we questioned your actions." Ambassador Zixtal's eyes darkened. "These alleged grievances do not justify armed rebellion. The Council has brought peace and stability to the galaxy for thousands of years. We cannot allow one young, violent species to threaten that order." "And what will you do?" Susan asked. "Bring your fleet to punish us." "The full might of the Council will respond to this rebellion," Zixtal warned. "You have 3 Earth days to surrender and disarm. After that, we cannot guarantee the safety of your planet." Susan's response was calm but firm. "You've mistaken patience for weakness, and that will be your undoing." As she left the chamber, several representatives from junior Council species followed her out. The Council was beginning to fracture. 3 months passed. Earth used this time wisely. Every ship, satellite, and station was fitted with technology based on Dr. Gaines' discoveries. The Resistance fleet grew as hidden factories worked day and night. Ethan, now Admiral of Earth's United Defense Forces, oversaw training for thousands of new recruits. Then the Council returned. Their armada appeared at the edge of the solar system, over 200 warships, far more than anyone had expected. They moved slowly but steadily toward Earth, destroying everything in their path. The human outpost on Pluto was the first to fall. Then Neptune's research stations. No survivors were reported. They're not here to negotiate, Susan told the Emergency Council of Earth leaders. They're here to make an example of us. Most Earth governments had now openly joined the resistance. Some had done so willingly after seeing the Council's true nature. Others had no choice after their citizens demanded action. Ethan's strategy was ready. Earth's fleet would not meet the Council head-on. Instead, they would use their smaller, faster ships for hit-and-run attacks. Earth itself was now protected by defense systems reverse-engineered from Council technology. Dr. Lisa Clark had made her own contribution to the war effort. By studying Council biology, she had developed specific countermeasures for each species. Their environmental needs are different from ours, she explained. What's harmless to us can be deadly to them. We can use that. The first major battle occurred near Jupiter. 50 human ships engaged a Council force twice their size. The Council expected an easy victory. Instead, they found themselves attacked by vessels that seemed to anticipate their every move. Using Dr. Gaines' shield-penetrating technology, the human ships caused serious damage before retreating. The Council pressed on toward Mars. The Red Planet had been home to Earth's largest colony, with over 1 million people. Most had been evacuated, but nearly 200,000 remained, protected by defense shields and a small fleet. What happened next shocked even the resistance leaders. The Council deployed weapons they had previously claimed not to possess, planet killers. From orbit, they launched devices that burrowed into Mars' crust and detonated with enormous force. Mars' surface cracked like an egg. Massive earthquakes destroyed cities. The atmosphere, already thin, was further depleted. Those who couldn't reach shelters died within minutes. They're showing us what awaits Earth, Susan said, watching the horrifying images. This is their true face. Humanity responded with equal ferocity. Using Lisa's biological research, they deployed tailored weapons against Council ships. Some released compounds that corroded only Atrian breathing systems. Others interfered with the neural patterns of Centauri crew members, causing confusion and paralysis. The battle for the solar system grew more desperate with each passing day. Both sides took heavy losses. Council forces pushed steadily toward Earth, but much more slowly than they had planned. Then everything changed again. As the main Council fleet approached Earth orbit, new ships appeared from the direction of Council space. At first, Ethan thought they were reinforcements for the enemy. Then he recognized their design. "Those are Viridian ships," he said in disbelief. Susan smiled. "Not just Viridians. Look." Behind the Viridian vessels came ships from 7 other junior Council species. They took position alongside Earth's fleet, facing the Council armada. Krell's voice came through on all channels. "People of Earth, you do not fight alone. For too long, we submitted to the founding members' tyranny. We watched as they exploited world after world. No more. Today, we stand with humanity against oppression." The Council commanders were thrown into confusion. Nearly a third of their expected forces had just joined the enemy. Their careful battle plans fell apart. Admiral Ethan Miller gave the order. "All ships, engage. For Earth and freedom." The battle that followed was the largest in the solar system's history. Council ships, despite their superior numbers, found themselves caught between two forces. Human vessels darted between larger alien ships, striking with precision. The rebel Council species attacked their former masters with the fury of the long oppressed. By the battle's end, the Council fleet was in retreat, What had begun as Earth's desperate stand for survival had become a galactic revolution. The rebel fleet did not stop at driving the Council from Earth. Admiral Ethan Miller gave the order that many had been waiting for: pursue them into Council space. The combined forces of Earth and the rebel species followed the retreating Council ships. As they entered Council territory, they found something unexpected. Many worlds were ready to join their cause. News of Earth's resistance had spread despite Council efforts to control information. "We've started something bigger than we imagined," Susan told Ethan as they received reports of uprisings on dozens of planets. The Council founding members, once thought invincible, now found themselves besieged on multiple fronts. Centuries of control through fear and manipulation were crumbling in months. On the Council homeworld of Atria, the 7 founding species met in emergency session. Their grand chamber, once a symbol of their power, now felt like a trap. Reports of lost territories and advancing rebel fleets filled the screens around them. "We must negotiate," urged one of the Zentari representatives, "before we lose everything." Ambassador Zixtal, who had once threatened Earth with destruction, now faced the greatest crisis in Council history. "Who would even speak with us now?" he asked. The answer came the next day. The rebel fleet entered orbit around Atria. They could have destroyed the planet from orbit, as the Council had done to Mars. Instead, they sent a message: "We request a meeting." The meeting took place on neutral ground, an ancient space station that had existed before the Council formed. Admiral Miller led the Earth delegation. Susan Wright and representatives from the rebel species accompanied him. On the other side stood Ambassador Zixtal and the remaining Council leadership. Zixtal spoke first, his tone far different from the commanding voice he had once used on Earth. "We wish to discuss terms for peace." Susan stepped forward. "Peace? After what you did to Mars, to the Perseus, to countless worlds before us?" "We acknowledge mistakes were made," Zixtal said carefully. "The Council is willing to offer significant concessions: true partnership, access to all our technology, fair trade agreements." "The Council begs for peace," Susan replied, "but it's too late for that." The room fell silent. The Council representatives looked at each other with growing fear. Was this the end? Would they face the same destruction they had inflicted on others? But Ethan spoke next, surprising everyone. "We didn't come here for revenge. We came for justice." His proposal shocked both sides. The Council would be dissolved, but there would be no wholesale destruction. Those directly responsible for atrocities would face trial. The Council worlds would pay reparations to planets they had exploited. Most importantly, a new galactic alliance would form, with all species as true equals. "Humanity could destroy you as you tried to destroy us," Ethan said. "Instead, we offer something you never gave others: a real choice." The news spread throughout the galaxy. On thousands of worlds, people learned that the Council's iron grip had been broken by a species many had never heard of. The humans had not only resisted successfully, but had shown mercy in victory. Over the next year, the new alliance took shape. Earth became a founding member, alongside former Council species and newly liberated worlds. Susan Wright was chosen as Earth's first alliance representative. Admiral Miller continued to lead the combined defense forces, ensuring the peace would last. Dr. Richard Gaines and Dr. Lisa Clark headed a new scientific exchange program. Knowledge once hoarded by the Council was now shared freely. Advances came rapidly as different species collaborated for the first time. On the anniversary of the Perseus massacre, a memorial service was held in orbit where the ship had been destroyed. Representatives from across the galaxy attended. Susan gave a short speech. "We gather to remember not only those lost on the Perseus, but all victims of oppression throughout the galaxy. Their sacrifice led to a new era of true cooperation. The Council's greatest fear was that different species would work together as equals. Now we know why. Together, we are unstoppable." As the ceremony ended, ships from dozens of worlds formed an honor guard around the memorial. Among them flew the Hope, the first ship of Earth's resistance, now a symbol of what determination and courage could achieve against impossible odds.